Awakened Vaccineman has been announced as the next LSSR on the herobackupistick. In today's video, I'll be going through everything you need to know about Awakened Vaccineman and whether or not he is worth buying. So let's get into the pros and cons about him. So for his pros, he will be the strongest monster AoE DPS unit for quite a long time, as SSR plus units such as Geru plus and Giro Giro plus will be the next monster AoE units, which is a long time from now. This is due to his force field kit, as he is a very high dot burst detonator, where he'll be able to deal massive amounts of damage in the first initial ticks of any battle. He is also able to trigger unyielding twice per battle, so he can be pretty hard to kill, which is great as you want his passive to be active for as long as possible. And finally, his force field debuff will be able to counter bombed shields. So whether you have ATT or not, he's going to be very useful against Bomb's core. Moving on to the cons about him, his passive does not stack with regular Vaccineman or Monsterized Chose. So normally in your team, you'll have to choose between either three of these units to boost ATT's force field damage. He can also be countered by fast crit burst units, such as going up against a faster Genos or RMG, as in order for him to trigger unyielding, he will need an enemy to be inflicted with force field first, or else he won't be able to untrigger unyielding at all. He can also ruin the energy management for your team, as by now there are many more important units that have come out and need to be using their ults first. So especially if you're going up against a Watchdog man with his keepsake, your energy management will be heavily compromised. And finally, he has a very unique synergy with ATT, where he can be both good and bad when paired up with her, which I will go more in depth over after talking about his skill set first. So let's get into his attack skills. So for his basic attack, he attacks a single enemy dealing 120% of his attack, as well as having a 100% chance to inflict force field onto the enemy, which before attacking he'll deal 150% of his attack as dot damage. For his ultimate attack, he attacks all enemies dealing 150% of his attack, where he will have a 100% chance to inflict force field onto all enemies, and before attacking he will deal 160% of his attack as dot damage. When he is in giant state, he will increase dot damage by 50%, which I will go over when talking about his passive. And if you have his keepsake, you will unlock his ultra ultimate attack, where the difference is that he'll attack all enemies dealing 180% of his attack, on top of which before attacking he'll deal 230% of his attack as dot damage, which is quite a significant amount. Unfortunately, his keepsake will most likely be available in the claw machine, so I wouldn't recommend pulling for his keepsake as it is quite expensive. So moving on to his passive. So whenever any unit moves, whether that be from your side or from your opponent's side, he'll detonate all force field currently inflicted on the enemy team. This detonate will deal 100% of the force field damage that it was originally going to deal, in which the force field is then completely removed. So he's basically fast tracking the force field debuff to deal its eventual damage straight away. And he will be able to detonate up to 3 times per round. After he detonates, he will enter Giant mode, where he'll be granted unyielding upon death up to 2 times per battle, and when his unyielding is triggered, he'll revive with 50% of his max HP. If you limit break him to 5 stars, the force field that he detonates will deal 110% of its original damage, as well as when in Giant state, he'll be able to revive with 60% of his max HP every time. And if you manage to unlock his 5-star awakening, the force field that he detonates will deal 120% of its original damage, as well as when in giant state, he'll be able to revive with 80% of his max HP every time. So because of his passive, there are a few pros and cons when teaming up with ATT. So the pros with this synergy is that he'll deal very high amounts of dot burst damage at the start of the battle. Due to detonating the force field, he or ATT inflicts straight away, which basically means that he skipped the waiting time for the field debuff to deal damage to the enemy. So Awakened Vaccineman's playstyle is like Genos in a way, where they both want to kill their enemies as soon as possible, ideally in the first tick of damage that they've dealt. So because of this, his synergy with ATT can work extremely well in Live Clash, as the current Life Clash meta involves having the faster ATT and killing everyone within the first round or so. So when using both of these units, how the force field combo works is that if you have ATT's Keepsake, then she'll need to go first, then followed by vaccineman. As vaccineman will be able to detonate the force field based on ATT's attack from her ultra ultimate first, then deal dot damage based on his attack soon after. So if you don't have ATT's Keepsake, then vaccineman will need to go first, then followed by ATT, so that you can slightly make up the missing amount of dot damage from ATT with her Keepsake. However, there are a few flaws if you do decide to use this combo. So in a long battle, having either regular vaccineman or Chose for their passive will be a much better alternative than using awakened vaccineman, as ATT's force field will be dealing a lot more damage in total over time, whereas awakened vaccineman will only deal higher amounts of dot damage in total only within the first round. So because of this, you have to choose between one of the 3 dot boosters to team up with ATT, as none of their passives are able to stack onto each other. So personally, I would recommend to use Chose or even regular vaccineman, as they'll provide ATT in dealing a lot more dot damage in most scenarios, as you only rarely see battles going for 1 round in Life Clash only. Another couple of downsides is that he will also ruin ATT's Keepsake potential, where she normally deals crazy amounts of dot damage after each enemy has been hit with 2 ticks from her force field. If you do use Awakened Vaccineman, then he'll remove her maximum damage potential altogether, which is very critical in the long run. Also because of this, ATT will become much more vulnerable, as he'll decrease ATT's survivability, as she will not be able to life steal from enemies at all if no one is inflicted with force field, so she'll be dying much quicker than she should be. So this is why personally you should only be using Awakened Vaccineman in monster lineups and leave him away from ATT. But each to their own, as I have seen instances where you can make this combo work, but you'll need to invest heavily into both characters, which I would only recommend doing so on ATT only, so you can just brush off Awakened Vaccineman just for monster lineups and tournaments. Moving on to his enhancements, for his talent page, his page 3 talents aren't important to unlock, since there is no additional unyielding buff, but I would recommend to unlock his 3rd page talent if you do intend to use him as your main AoE attacker, otherwise don't waste your resources on him. For his damage sigils, you can either use sword or pain sigils, and for his support sigils, you can use either vitality or rebellion sigils. In regards to his limit break, upgrading him to 4 stars should be the limit for him, since he's not a super important character to prioritize your materials for, especially with all the espers that we've been given as of the last couple of months. However, if he will be your main AoE or AoE dot unit, then you can 5-star him to buff his passive even further. And in regards to his awakening, at a maximum get him up to 3-star awakening to attain his crit buffs if you plan on using him. But if you really want to, you can 4-star awaken him, but I wouldn't recommend so if you already have ATT. So I recommend to save your villain resources for other villain characters to spend your awakening materials on. Moving on to his gears, so for his gear setup, there are 2 ways you can build him, by either using attack or HP gears, depending on if he'll be your main dot dealer or not. So you can either go for a knight or gunner set if you prioritize a high DPS build, where you'll need all gears to have attack as their main stat and attack bonus as their substat. Or you can use a suit set if you prioritize a utility build, where you'll need all gears to have HP as their main stat and HP bonus as their substat. Now personally, I would recommend using an all attack set on him, but a HP build can work on him, since he'll be able to survive for much longer, as his passive becomes the most important thing about him, which basically makes him ATT's bitch when they both synergize in the same team with each other. And for his buff gears, all of them should have attack, with your villain gear having attack bonus and flat attack, your esper gear having flat attack and resistance, and your dragon gear having flat attack and damage reduction rate. If you do plan on using HP gear for him, then replace all of the attack stats for HP stats on his buff gears. And if you manage to get an augmentation from upgrading your dragon gear, getting an unyielding augmentation will work well with vaccineman. Now I'll be going into the main takeaways from this unit. He's going to be the strongest monster AoE DPS unit for quite a while now, even in the early stages of the SSR Plus era. However, he isn't immune into getting absolutely shafted by Boros Plus or Carnage Kabuto Plus, so do keep that in mind. He won't be the strongest villain unit, but will be the strongest AoE villain unit. He's also mostly prioritized as a PvE unit, but in instances such as Live Clash, he can be somewhat viable in PvP. So after comparing the pros and cons about using him alongside ATT, I would recommend to only use him in monster lineups such as for monster tournaments and for the villain side in Hero X Villain, as well as in lineups without ATT, since he does negatively impact ATT's main strategy, as she is the better force field damage dealer than vaccineman. However, don't count him out if you do not have ATT, as he's still a great replacement for ATT to fill in as your AoE dot damage dealer. So should you pull for Awakened Vaccineman? Unfortunately for free to play you have to skip him since he is locked behind a paywall, and if you don't have ATT then it is really unfortunate that you don't have a force field damage dealer, but if you do have money to spend then you can get Vaccineman if you want, or just wait until ATT's rerun. For Dolphins, he is a good pull to have for your monsters side, where I would only recommend to do little bits of investment here and there onto him just for the monster side alone. And for Whales, he is a great pull because then you can invest more heavily into him, which will make him very useful. My preference is that I am going to pull for him since I do buy the Herobackupunit every time it comes out, but I will only be prioritizing him for monster lineups and I don't think I'm going to be using him with ATT. And a quick update on my predicted timeline. So because vaccineman got put into the Herobackupunit, it will either be Sonic V2 or Gale Wind who will be on the August banner in my opinion. Then the one left out will be in September. Other than that, we're still unsure what the anniversary has awaited for us, so many units such as Siru and Drive Knights I am still unsure about whether or not they'll be given for free or in a limited time banner. Bomb is also still in the mix as well, so we'll have to wait and see what Moontoon announces later on during August, whether or not he'll be released during the anniversary or not. And finally, for those who stayed throughout the entire video, I'll be holding a fun little giveaway where instead of relying on luck like most giveaways, you all have a chance to guess how much money I've spent on this game, where one lucky winner will be able to win a free Hero Backup Stick, funded by yours truly of course. To enter, you will just need to guess how much money I've spent in total of my 9 months playing this game. Whoever guesses the closest wins, where I'll even be counting it to the nearest cent. So to enter, comment only once on this video and guess how much I've spent on my account. However, do not edit your comments at all, as if I see that it was edited, you'll be disqualified. You can, however, delete that comment and then enter a new comment if you accidentally edited your previous comment. But you can only have one comment on this video. The winner will be announced on the 31st of July, which should be when the next Hero Backup Stick comes out. So I'll record a quick video message on my channel and I will go over the steps from there for whoever won. I will let you guys know that I won't be spending any money until this giveaway ends, so that I am not changing its total on purpose. Also to keep in mind, this value tracks USD, where I pay using AUD, so only type the amount of USD you think I've spent, since I'm only going to be basing your guesses on this top up value, not on how much I've actually spent with my currency. So whatever is written on the game I'm going to accept. And that's it for today's video. I never really had the chance to say this since we are on 600 subscribers now, but I really do appreciate hitting 500 subscribers in 3 months of doing YouTube for One Punch Man, which is a really amazing feat. So I want to thank you all for sticking with me and enjoying my videos that I do have fun making. My goal with this channel is to reach 1000 subscribers before the September anniversary, so if you could all subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell, that would be greatly appreciated, as it will allow me to do more of these giveaways, which I do plan to do so in the future. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and I wish you all the best of luck guessing my total top up in USD, so whatever it says on the game. Anyways, I'll catch you all later, and until next time.